What do you say after that? Oh, I don't know what to say, I'll be honest with you. First of all, I want to say thank you. That's the biggie. Thank you to Susan Fite and NCCJ, the board of directors, and all of the people connected with NCCJ who decided that I should step into a level that I never dreamed I would step into before, into a level of people that I always admired but didn't imagine I would be one of them. I thank my family, Larry and the kids and all my close friends for helping me. You know, you can't do something like this by yourself. You got to have someone in the back sort of pushing you along. And I also want to thank all of you. You would not be here tonight if you didn't think that I deserved this award. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for all the years that you watched TV, who you've been beside me and behind me throughout my days at the shopping center and the grocery store and the neighborhood and the schools. So thank you to all of you. When I went to work at WFMY in 1972, I had no idea that I was making a big deal. I needed a job. And when I graduated from North Carolina A&T, I had a degree to teach high school English, but I couldn't find a job teaching. Everywhere I went, they said, we need math teachers, science teachers. And I thought, math, gosh, I can't add more than 1 and 1 and 2. So after searching and searching, I was driving by the TV station one afternoon, and I thought, I wonder who writes things for them to say. So I went through the door unannounced, and I said, I'm here to find out if you have any jobs. And they looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. Jobs? What do you mean, jobs? And I said, well, I'll just take whatever you have. The news director came out after I filled out a one-page application and said, how would you like to be a reporter? And I thought to myself, what in the heck is a reporter? And I said, yes, I have thought about that. That's a good idea. So when I started my career, which as I decided after I walked into the TV station, and I felt something inside of me that said, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you can do to make a difference. And I decided this was God's plan, because I'm supposed to be in a high school English classroom right now, but here he is putting me in a position that I know nothing about. So I decided this is something that God wanted me to do. When I started doing that, I was excited. My mother was so excited, I think she went door to door. All of you probably heard from her, didn't you? Went door to door saying, my daughter's on television, my daughter's on television. Well, it was not about being on television, because as I started there, I didn't know anything about reporting, so I had to learn as I went along. But I had so many people helping me learn, like Lee Keinert, bless his heart. I did not realize until recently that he was getting all sorts of threats on his life and his family because he was helping me. But I can say that probably most of what I learned about TV, I learned from him. And you know how brutally honest Lee is. He'd say, now listen, Hughes, you don't do it like that. Or he'd say, yeah, Hughes, you did a good job today, but you got to do better than that. So I was scared to death, but I went along with him. When I started on TV, I did not expect to get the kind of reception I got from our community. I got threats against my well-being and my life through phone calls, letters, confrontations on the street. Anywhere you can imagine, people were saying, you need to get off that air. We don't want your kind on TV. I was kind of overwhelmed by it all, although I wasn't necessarily surprised. Because as they said in the video, where I was talking like Minnie Mouse, they said that I grew up in the 50s and 60s in a neighborhood where we knew that you can't sit in this restaurant, you can't go through that door, you can't use a water fountain that says whites only, you only can use the bathrooms that say for colored only. So I grew up with that, but when I started getting those responses from TV, I really was surprised, not totally, because, you know, I'd had that all my life, but I was kind of disappointed because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought the job I was doing was about delivering information to people, telling you what's going on in your communities, in your churches, in your schools, giving you warnings about things that you need to be warned about, trying to help you make your life better. So I couldn't understand why nobody wanted me to do that. Those went on for quite a while. When I started doing Sandra and Friends, as Lee reminds me constantly, people would call in a bomb threat. That'd mean everyone in the TV station had to get up, pack up, and go out. And that didn't make everybody happy because it happened so often. And I said, Lee, you stayed in with me. He said, no, I didn't. I was out of there. You did. But I refused to leave the TV station. I'd sit there. There was one director that would stay with me. He'd lock the camera down, and I'd just sit there and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk till the show was over in 30 minutes. I think after a while, people got so sick and tired of hearing me talk, they said, let's stop calling in bomb threats because we'll have to listen to her for a pretty long time. My early days in TV were pretty unusual. The only time that I decided to back up and stop was when my daughter, Tiffany, who's here with me tonight, and her two beautiful little grandchildren, not her grandchildren, my grandchildren, sorry about that. When Tiffany was a toddler and she was in daycare, someone would call and say, the daycare's had a bad accident and Tiffany's in critical condition at the hospital, you need to get there right away. Okay. It's time for me to break the deal and go see about my family. That's when I decided to stop. But that's when my husband, Larry, my close family and friends came together and said, do you like what you're doing? And I said, I feel what I'm doing is important. They said, do you think you should keep doing it? And I said, yes, it's become a passion by now. It's the right thing to do. They said, then fine, we'll gather around you. We'll watch your child at school, your husband, your house, your car, and you at work. So that if something happens, we'll be the first one to call you, and you won't be wondering if this is right or wrong. And I can't tell you how many days I would get off that show and go back into the newsroom, and people who worked there would say, yeah, we got all kind of calls today. But what they would do was run and check them out, or call my safety net to check them out before stopping me on the air to go. Do you know how much that meant to me? That's enormous for someone to care enough about what you're doing to protect you in that manner. I honestly did not realize that I was breaking any barriers or forging as a pioneer. I just knew what I was doing was right, and I felt God wanted me to do it. And I had all these people who said, yes, keep going, keep going, keep going. And that's what I was doing. So I thank all of you who continued to turn to Channel 2 and not some of the other stations, because if we didn't get good ratings, I wouldn't have been there very long at all. But I thank you for that, and I thank you for inviting me into your homes and your businesses and your communities to do various things that I've done over the years. It's been wonderful. When Susan Fike called me and said, we want to talk to you about this year's NCCJ Award, I thought she was calling me to ask me to be the MC. And I kept saying, huh, what? What do you say, huh? And so when she finally said, we want you to be the honoree, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I can't believe they're asking me to move to that level of people. I just can't believe it. But it happened. Thank you very much for that. I told Susan, I've gotten so many emails, phone calls, letters, cards, flowers since the announcement came out several months ago. And I said, Susan, if I get too nervous and pass out and can't be there November 7th, I already have my congratulations from the community. And that was wonderful. It's obvious that we all have to continue to forge ahead. What was happening to me in the 70s and 80s, which actually the threats I got went on for almost 10 years. But what was happening to me then is not necessarily happening in that same manner anymore, but we know it's still there. So it is upon all of us, me and you and my two little granddaughters there, and all of us to keep pushing forward and not let anything stop you if you feel that you're doing the right thing. The National Conference of Community and Justice will continue to lead the march against bias, bigotry, and racism, but we've got to help them. We have to support them. As Susan says to you and to me, conceive it, believe it, achieve it. Thank you, everybody.